Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
San Diego's former NFL team and the stadium they called home are both long gone, but that's made way for a new sports franchise to move in. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Major League Soccer is coming to town. Although the team's name was not revealed, KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us what to expect from the MLS's newest club.
Major League Soccer has officially awarded its 30th team to San Diego. The new expansion club will begin play in 2025 at Snapdragon Stadium.
This soccer club is your soccer club. It belongs to this city. We are merely custodians. It's your community, and this soccer club is going to be here in San Diego for a long, long time.
That's Mohammed Mansour, one of the club's owners. Mansour is an Egyptian billionaire, businessman, and chairman of the Mansour Group. The Sequan tribe is the other owner, and they're the first Native American tribe to have an ownership stake in professional soccer in the United States. Sequan tribe chairman Cody Martinez describes what it means to represent the 18 Native American reservations in San Diego.
I want to be able to help look back 30, 40, 50 years from now and just feel great that I've been a part of that. And so we'll be able to, like we say in Native American culture, 7 generations. And so I have to get planning today so I can help those 7 generations build a better tomorrow.
MLS Commissioner Don Garber describes why San Diego deserves a home team.
San Diego is just such a great sports market, and it's a great soccer market. Soccer professionally has succeeded here for many, many years, but it always sort of was missing something. We needed a great stadium.
This soccer ball is made up of all 18 cities that make up San Diego County, and within the next couple of weeks, the MLS will be going out into the community to see what the fans are really like. And to wrap up, each city section will be turned into an art piece that represents what drives each community.
Oh, and there's one member of the investment group sports fans may already recognize. Here's a hint.
Machado to deep left and deep in...
Yep, San Diego Padres third baseman and shortstop Manny Machado.
It means so much to me, my family, to continue to plant roots in this community.
Melissa May, KPBS.
More people looking to catch a bus have to find another way to get where they're going. Today, MTS bus routes operating out of the East County joined the work stoppage that started in the South Bay. And it comes as the MTS board chose a new leader to replace former chair Nathan Fletcher. Acting chair Stephen Whitburn was appointed to hold the position for the remainder of the term, as well as the new term that begins in January.
Is my goal to make sure that we have a transit agency that everybody finds to be convenient so that they can get to where they want to go in a quick manner. That is what will cause more and more people to take advantage of the transit services that MTS has to offer.
And this was the second meeting where members voted to appoint a new chair. Last month's meeting saw 6 rounds of voting, but the board couldn't reach the 2/3 threshold. The vacancy comes after Fletcher resigned following a lawsuit filed by a former MTS employee for alleged sexual misconduct. And Whitburn says an independent investigation is still underway. 2 automakers are paying a $200 million settlement over claims that their vehicles are too easy to steal. The San Diego city attorney was one of the many in major cities to file suit. The problem was discovered in some 2011 to 2022 models. Thieves could use a USB cable to start the engines on models that had turnkey ignition switches instead of the push buttons. Word of the glitch quickly spread over social media, leading to an increase in thefts. Kia and Hyundai say they've developed software patches to fix the problem. It's been 1 week since the end of Title 42, the pandemic-era policy that prevented people from seeking asylum at the border. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has an update from nonprofits at the forefront of migrant humanitarian aid.
Nonprofit groups who have been on the ground at the border since the end of Title 42 describe deplorable conditions for people seeking asylum in America. Margaret Cargioli with the Immigrant Defenders Law Center is decrying the death of an 8-year-old girl on Wednesday in Customs and Border Protection custody. It happened in Texas. This comes a week after a 17-year-old died in a Florida detention center.
I hope it's the last time I hear it, but I'm afraid it may not be, because if you're processing people that quickly, as if they're cattle and not human beings, what results should we expect but the unfortunate tragedies?
Pedro Rios with the American Friends Service Committee says CBP herded asylum seekers into remote areas in Jacumba and between the border walls on U.S. soil. He says once there, people were counted, pre-registered, but were not allowed to leave and deprived of basic needs.
It's absolutely disturbing to see human beings trapped between border walls on U.S. soil and treated in conditions that could have ended up killing someone. There were so many times that we saw children that were crying, that were asking for food.
His group and other nonprofits showed up to provide basic needs and monitor conditions.
We had to coordinate with Border Patrol initially to call medical services, and at one point they said, you just need to call 911 and stop calling us.
Jewish Family Service of San Diego, the nonprofit that has been operating the county's rapid response migrant shelter service, says it's seeing more people since the end of Title 42, on some days 5 times more than their average. Rios says they're calling on the Biden administration to live up to our nation's values and investigate what they say are CBP's failures and human rights violations.
I think people should be held accountable for why and how this happened. And if that means that officials need to be removed from office, then that's something that should definitely be considered.
We reached out to CBP. They did not respond. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
City Council member Marnie Von Wilpert is demanding a public hearing on San Diego's lack of police oversight. That's in response to a recent KPBS investigation. It found the city's Commission on Police Practices has stopped reviewing allegations of police misconduct. More than half of the commission seats are empty. The City Council plans to appoint a new slate of commissioners on Monday, but Council member Von Wilpert wants answers about why oversight of police has stalled. She chairs the City Council's Public Safety Committee and has scheduled a hearing in early June. And we're learning what caused drinking water contamination on 2 Navy aircraft carriers. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer has more on the investigation findings released this week.
Sailors on 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers operating off the California coast last fall drank water contaminated with jet fuel and E. coli bacteria because of corrosion and poor maintenance. That's according to 2 Navy investigations released this week. In September, sailors on the Nimitz noticed the water smelled and tasted like fuel. The ship was sidelined at Naval Air Station North Island for 2 weeks while the system was flushed and cleaned. 11 Nimitz sailors were sickened, but all returned to normal duty by early October. The investigation found a bad gasket on a potable water tank had gone undetected during the ship's 2020 deployment. Water also became contaminated on the San Diego-based aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln just a week after Nimitz was sidelined. According to the investigation, water from the ship's bilge system leaked into the drinking water through a hole in a corroded pipe. Bilges collect wastewater from sinks and drains. The investigation found tests from as early as January 2022 indicated bacterial contamination and faulted the sailors in charge of those tanks. The hole was repaired and the tanks flushed and cleaned. The Navy says no Lincoln sailors fell ill due to the contamination. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Elder fraud is among the most underreported crimes, and when it is reported, law enforcement often tells victims, sorry, we just can't help you. But KPBS investigative reporter Amita Sharma says that could change with a San Diego case that has revealed a nationwide criminal network.
This video shows a 24-year-old member of an organized crime group. She's a money courier, part of a sophisticated effort that allegedly bilked people across the country out of millions of dollars.
That looks terrible.
Yeah. The footage is from Judith and Ronald Addig's doorbell camera. KPBS obtained the video from police. The El Cajon couple is seeing it for the first time. For the 78-year-old Judith, the video brings back memories of a fateful call she received in May of 2020.
Hello. It was my grandson, Troy, and he'd had an accident. The police have arrested him.
He told her how much money he needed, and she couldn't tell his father. It would make him angry.
It was $7,600 that they wanted. Cash. Everything is cash. And you're in jail.
Judith had a lot of questions. He had all the answers.
He said that somebody's going to come pick it up because that's the only way I can get it out of jail. So I did, you know, the thing that every mother grandma does, help them.
But the voice on the other end of the line was not Judith's grandson. Law enforcement says the Addigs are among dozens of people in San Diego and across the country who have fallen victim to a so-called grandparent scam run by a nationwide criminal syndicate. It's called the Enterprise.
This is so much more rampant than anyone in the country is willing to admit.
That's Deputy San Diego County DA Scott Perillo. He says the grandparent scam is an old crime, but the Enterprise has taken it to a new level.
Okay, your name is Jessica? Jessica. Okay, and you're going right back there? Yes. Okay, thank you.
She's not Jessica, she's Jasmine. Jasmine Peror from Los Angeles. The indictment explains how couriers like her were at the bottom rung of the Enterprise's ladder. She allegedly took the Addicts' money and passed it to a crew chief who oversees other couriers. It was then passed up to the national organization. Peror was eventually arrested in 2021 and charged with 33 felonies, including extortion, fraud, and money laundering. This wasn't her only courier stop.
That's a pretty good investigative lead.
This San Diego case would open the eyes of the DA's office to the potential breadth of the Enterprise organization.
There was a network of money laundering syndicate above her, and so that launched a federal investigation.
Currently, I'm a trial attorney with...
Alexandra Johnson is a prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office in San Diego. She says Peror's arrest got the feds interested. The Justice Department doesn't usually pay attention to elder fraud abuse, but this one was different.
But she led us to the others on the West Coast.
Johnson would join Perillo, the FBI, and other law enforcement agencies to form a first-of-its-kind crime-fighting team, the San Diego Elder Justice Task Force. In another first, the Enterprise members were prosecuted under the Federal Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, or RICO, which can lead to longer prison terms and larger fines.
A RICO indictment in a case like this is something that is really a watershed moment in the fight against elder scams.
A grand jury indictment followed in July 2021, naming 8 Enterprise members. Looking back, investigators say they were able to break the case because the Enterprise got too greedy. Couriers tried to squeeze more money out of their victims. That's what happened to the Addicts.
He did call back after he got his money, and he wanted $21,000 more.
The couple headed to their bank, California Trust, to take the money out.
The girls at the bank said, "This is a scam." And I said, "No, it's about my grandson." She said, "You start calling your whole family, it's a scam."
The next breakthrough came when the task force learned of a similar scenario that played out in Ohio.
The victim by then realized it's not right. So when he showed up, they arrested him, seized his phone devices. The case got better after that.
The phones provided a wealth of leads. Law enforcement now had a roadmap to the Enterprise's network. In time, operations in Florida, Arizona, New York, and Texas would be uncovered.
They study psychology and they know exactly how to get their hook in the victim.
Deputy DA Perillo says the investigation shows how vulnerable thousands of older Americans are and has brought a new awareness of elder fraud to the highest levels of law enforcement.
We're not going to educate our way out of this problem. We need serious action from law enforcement, from government, from the banking industry, from the retail industry. We need a monumental response to this monumental problem.
As for the ongoing effort against the Enterprise gang members,
we're going to follow the evidence and get it done.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says 6 indicted members of the Enterprise have pleaded guilty. Multiple investigations are ongoing. This story was reported and written by KPBS freelance reporter J.W. August.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, Montana becomes the first state to fully ban the social media app TikTok. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The city of Vista didn't get any takers when it called for proposals for a homeless shelter last year. But as KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne explains, it did find success with safe parking.
Anthony White II remembers a time when he was living out of his car. At night, he found himself having to move from place to place.
Just different places that I thought maybe I could be both undisturbed and undisturbing, because I didn't want to bother people with my presence.
He was a college student trying to find his way after the military when he lost his housing and had to live out of his truck.
I mean, the biggest challenge I faced besides how do I get out of this situation was, where do I sleep at night? Where do I park my car? How do I just find that place to rest?
He's since been able to get back on his feet, but his lived experience has led him to advocate for safe parking sites for people living out of their cars. As a Vista resident, he's excited to see a site in the works for the city. It'll mark the second safe parking site for the North County region.
We are standing in the spot that will soon be the City of Vista's safe parking program, with 25 parking spots that will include case management and overnight security for people who are experiencing homelessness and sleeping in their cars.
Vista City Council member Katie Melendez presented the idea over a year ago. She says different sites were considered for the location of the safe parking site.
Based on the size and the capacity needed for the lot, as well as just what was available, the Civic Center parking lot ended up being the best choice for us. And I think it's going to be a great location.
That's because the parking lot goes empty after hours and has access to bathroom facilities. Jewish Family Service will help run the project. The organization operates 5 other safe parking sites in San Diego County, including one in Encinitas.
The lot in Vista will be pretty similar to the lot here in Encinitas. It'll also be 25 spaces. It'll also be during the overnight hours only. And we know from experience operating in this area that there's definitely a need, and we expect utilization to be high as soon as it's ready to open.
The Encinitas site has been running for over 2 years. And Chris Olson says the majority of people using the site are over age 50 and have full-time jobs.
So we see a lot of older adults and people, of course, who would never imagine that they would find themselves in this situation. But the key to safe parking is that we're able to intervene with services early before someone has to experience living on the street.
He says a third of the participants have gone into permanent housing through the safe parking program, and half have made positive progress. The Vista Safe Parking site will accommodate 25 cars from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. and is expected to open in August. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Well, it's that time of the year. It's May, and we expect the May gray, and that's exactly what we have. Low clouds will continue to hug the coast for the next couple of days, where it'll be a little bit cooler. Make a little bit of clearing, but not much, and those clouds will penetrate the inland valleys during the nighttime and early morning hours, and then they'll melt away. And in the interior sections, temperatures will be running a little bit above the historical averages. So there is some moisture coming in from the east, and there could be the stray shower storm, primarily in the mountains, kind of like the little bit of a monsoonal flow, so a little bit of humidity out there. Overnight tonight in the metro, temperatures in the low 60s with the low clouds, and see how those clouds will start to penetrate into some of the inland valleys. Temperatures tonight, mid-50s, Ramona, Chula Vista around 60, and Mount Laguna will be hovering in the mid-50s as well. Here's the way it looks on our future satellite and radar. Here are your low clouds right along the coast tonight. They'll get a little bit more of a push inland during the overnight hours. Coming in from the east, there is the moisture, so that could ignite the spotty shower or thunderstorm. But notice not a lot of coverage, at least for the first part of the day. A little better chance for the heating in the afternoon. So let's take a look at the forecast for you as we look at tomorrow's weather. Clouds will hang tough at the coast. Temperatures hovering upper 60s to near 70. Much milder in the interior. El Cajon 77, Ramona at 78. Borrego Springs heating up to 98 degrees. Here's the forecast for the coast as we take you into the weekend. Low clouds may break a little bit. Maybe a little more sunshine into early next week. As we head our way inland, clouds to start, and then we'll break into the sunshine. Should be nice and mild into the weekend. And as we take you up into the mountains here, clouds and sun, maybe a spotty shower storm the next couple of days. And in the deserts, temperatures upper 90s to near 100. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Well, thousands of people across San Diego ditched their four wheels for Bike Anywhere Day. Pit stops were set up across the county for bicyclists to refuel with some snacks and pick up some free swag along the way. You might remember the event used to be called Bike to Work Day, right? But in the age of working from home, Sandag said that they want to encourage everyone to just jump on a bike and get some exercise in their day, whether they were riding to the office or not. And San Diego International Film Festival, Fringe Festival that is, celebrates 11 years of showcasing artists and shows outside of the mainstream. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando has someone from the festival that she wants you to meet.
Meet Austin Dean Ashford. Last time he was at the San Diego International Fringe Festival, he took home a trio of awards. Now he's back and ready to suit up to be a Fringe superhero.
I am putting on this cape and this Green Lantern ring, and I will find you from around the world and strongly urge you to come. You're strongly invited.
That invitation goes out to artists and audiences alike.
What I'm really excited about with having him here is the new energy and a new voice for our festival that helps represent the direction we'd like to take the festival.
Kevin Charles Patterson founded San Diego Fringe back in 2013. This year, he wanted to add someone to the team who would be amplifying the Fringe message of diversity and inclusivity.
I want to hear the indigenous play that you and your ensemble put together now. I want to hear the Asian play. I want to hear the African play. I want to hear the Japanese play. I want to hear the Latinx play. I want to hear the queer play. I want it all. I want it all here, and I want it all now.
Ashford has enthusiastically embraced his role as not just Fringe producer, but also as its ambassador for the arts.
I want to bring some innovative ways for us to growth and invite new voices to come to the Fringe.
Ashford was one of those new voices in 2018.
This little light, I'm gonna let it shine. I get to get amplified off of everybody else's first time because I remember my first time.
And that perspective allows him to understand what artists need and how to attract a first-time Fringer like Mark Vigent to come down to San Diego from LA with his show Mark Pleases You.
My name is Mark, and I just died. And right now I'm in hell. Mark, can I have the hell lights?
It's very tough for a lot of artists to go from hobby, amateur, to feel like they've had a professional moment. This festival did this for me.
And it continues to do it for others. Plus, it upholds the International Fringe tradition of giving 100% of the box office to artists and providing an uncensored and unjuried platform. Perhaps no show better fits the Fringe mission statement than Censored Heart, which directly addresses issues of artistic freedom.
Where there is art, there is hope. That's Fringe for you. I actually don't want to work with any other entity or festival or anything like that.
Censored Heart is the only BYOV, or Bring Your Own Venue show, and it's being staged at the historic Les Girls Theater that Kata Pierce Morgan owns. Sasha Fu also appreciates the opportunity of Fringe.
I think it's really great because it allows artists to put their work forward in a way that doesn't involve a lot of the trappings of institutional restraints or constraints.
She's trying to raise awareness about reproductive rights with her collection of monologues in choice words. Part of Ashford's job is to answer the question artists may be asking themselves as they're trying out new, crazy, provocative, or just plain silly ideas.
There's so many people who are creating things that are worried, like, is there a platform for me? Is there a place where I can have my authentic voice and share it with people and people to want to hear? And I can say a resounding, unapologetic yes. Here at SD Fringe, we want your work.
And so do I, because every year I look forward to these 11 days of sensory overload, stepping out of my comfort zone, and just being open to anything Fringe wants to throw at me. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. On NPR's Morning Edition, a woman talks about volunteering as a nurse at a clinic on the U.S.-Mexico border after struggling in the ER during COVID. And KPBS Roundtable is kicking off the conversation about Major League Soccer coming to San Diego and what that means for our region's economy, as well as sports fans. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.